Hi, everyone. This is Greg Arnett with CloudTruth. A common use case scenario that we hear customers asking about is how to simplify their configuration as it relates to getting properties files from Git repos into ConfigMaps in Kubernetes. In this video, we're going to walk through how to fetch property values from a YAML file in a Git repo, pass them through our configuration hub, and create config maps and secrets in your Kubernetes environment, all through a simple set of streamlined commands. It's all part of CloudTruth's goal to help you decouple the management of your configuration from how the information is being consumed. So let me walk you through what we're going to be doing in this video. We have a Git repo with property files in the form of a YAML implementation, and our input integration to your Git repos will fetch these values from this file on a scheduled basis, passes it through our configuration hub. In this case, we're going to generate a config map with our Kubernetes operator and automatically update the config map representation of settings for this project in your Kubernetes environment. So with that, let me walk you through how CloudTruth is configured to work in this case. We have a number of environments declared for this sample, a set of default values, a development environment, a production environment, staging environment. CloudTruth works across all your environments, regardless of which cloud or whether it's on-prem or self-hosted. We focus on the configuration data layer that helps you reduce configuration sprawl. I have a project outline called billing system. So think of this as a sample microservices environment with Kubernetes actually running the microservice. And I have parameters and configuration settings. So think of this as parameters, secrets, and environment variables for this project called billing system, which is here in my structure. I'm able to inherit values from upper levels of the tree, like my domain, environment, hostname. To simplify, I'm just going to focus on current project only. And from this view, I can look at configuration values that are being fetched from a Git repo, such as the database user and URL and port and password. I can do scenario analysis, look at different perspectives, such as I look at production values, or I can look at staging values. So we notice a cluster size of, say, 15, a different database user type, different instance type, or go look at production, different size cluster, different size instance, different database username. And then we have our YAML file that CloudTruth is integrated with. This is a sample file. Here are the values here. I'm going to be editing this file in a second and show you how edit commit to a YAML file can trigger a full configuration set of data being communicated to Kubernetes. And then I have my Kubernetes environment here. I'm using Minikube, and this is the config map for my billing system. So I go back to my config maps, click billing system, and these are the current values like production database user and DB port and so forth. So let's go back to CloudTruth. So what I'm going to do is for the production environment, change the database username from prod db_user to a different value. So let's go over to the YAML file. I'm going to use the manual editor in the GitHub interface. And let's change the user from prod user to prod user _new. And let's also change the database port to 443. 443 is just so you can see other changes in the system. I'll commit those changes. Normally it'd be a scheduled sync, but to force this to go faster, I'm going to go to my action system, go to GitHub, and I'm going to force a sync. So what this is doing is refreshing all the pointers to the externally referenced values in Git. Now that update's been successful, if I jump back to my parameter screen, refreshing the values, and I'll choose my production environment. Now prod db_user new is there. 443 is there. And if I go to my Kubernetes dashboard, We'll give this a second to refresh. We have a Kubernetes operator, which works in the background. There we go, 443 and prod db user new. So that's it. This is a simple way to manage all your config settings in a distributed dimensional environment where config is living in Git repos, parameter stores, secret stores. This one specific example illustrates how CloudTruth can fetch values from a Git repo YAML file or JSON file, pass it through the hub. Our Kubernetes operator then updates all the settings inside of your project automatically or on a scheduled basis. Here's a little more detail around the Kubernetes operator. It's designed to talk to the CloudTruth Platform API, and it runs in your local Kubernetes namespace, so you have complete control over it. It's an open source package that you can inspect the source code for security needs. But in essence, what the Kubernetes operator does is it synchronizes config settings across all your environments like dev, staging, and prod, and all your projects into the appropriate namespaces, config maps, and secrets in your Kubernetes environment. So this will let you streamline the ability to manage config maps and secrets, all based on a Git commit and a workflow system that passes through the CloudTruth configuration management system.